beginnings. She attended in Worcester. She attended Worcester Academy from grades 7 through 10. In fact, one very important thing to note was she played softball here for Miss Bavarian, and in fact was the MVP. After leaving Worcester Academy and attending and graduating from high school, Heather went on to attend Clark University. She began her career and quickly advanced to top salesperson and brand manager within her first year in corporate America. Impressive. However, after being harassed in her position, she started working for Wilkes Broadcasting as a salesperson in radio. A year later, she was offered an equity partnership, which required her to move to Saginaw, Michigan. She made the difficult decision to leave her family and friends and move alone to the Midwest for the chance to create value and sell Saginaw properties for a gain. Within 3 years in Saginaw, she significantly increased the sales to $55 million. Heather then moved from there to Naples, Florida, to begin working for Beasley Broadcasting, where she started as a director of sales. And after 1 year of substantial revenue results, she pitched herself for a position that didn't previously exist: bold and courageous. She was awarded the VP of Sales title for the company. And over the next few years, she pitched herself for and was awarded the newly created Executive Vice President of Sales role and ultimately the Chief Revenue Officer title. During this time, she launched her personal brand to empower others, to give them the insights and tips that she had longed for as a young professional. She was the keynote speaker at the Carinium CRO conference in 2017. She held the main stage at LOAC in New York City. She was recognized as a Glass Ceiling Award winner and as one of the most influential women in radio in 2017, before her unexpected termination. Faced with the choice to go back to her comfort zone or take a leap of faith and pursue her passion to elevate others, she chose to make her company, Boss in Heels, her full-time job. And over the next few months, she was featured on the Elvis Duran Show, wrote and self-published her first book entitled Confidence Creator, and was named the brand ambassador for Perry Ellis International's female brand, Rafaela. Subsequently, she was named a limit-breaking female founder by the Thrive Global. She's also a member of the Florida International University Advisory Council to serve as a mentor and leader in the South Florida community. After Confidence Creator launched, #1 new release on Amazon, Heather was picked by the Harry Walker Speaker Agency as the most elite speaking agency in the United States. She was on the list of speakers at Harry Walker and included in Obama's and Clinton's, among many other world leaders' business icons, as best-selling author. Subsequently, she was the keynote speaker at the 2018 Entity Women's Summit, the Mistress of Ceremonies for the Miracle Maker's 60th anniversary, Big Brother, Big Sister Luncheon and Fashion Show, and was the keynote speaker for the SHE Summit Bacardi. Heather has spoken this year to numerous brands, including Royal Caribbean, Zenith Media, Horizon Media, BNY Mellon, Greenberg Traurig, if I didn't pronounce that right, I apologize. It's a law firm, Boise University, FIU, University of Miami, the WNBA, and the iHeartMedia. Heather will be the recipient of the Stardust Award this past month, from the Stars Foundation, recognizing her work to elevate others to overcome adversity. Confidence Creator, released on Amazon May 22nd, immediately taking #1 release in business motivation and self-improvement, women's personal, spiritual growth, self-esteem, and personal transformation. Before the end of the first week, Confidence Creator claimed Amazon's #1 bestseller in biographies of business professionals, women's personal, spiritual growth, and personal transformation. She's been featured in USA Today, Bloomberg, CNN, and various other media outlets for her work to advance others. And most importantly, she's a really good friend of Mr. Jamie Sullivan. But without further ado, I would like to introduce Heather Monahan.
What's up, Worcester? I'm so excited to be here. I haven't been back here in 30 years. So 30 years ago, I was sitting in a similar seat to where you're sitting. Coach B and I were just talking. We didn't hold assemblies in here back in the day. We were back in the theater. So I guess you guys have outgrown my old days, so congrats. All right, who in here lives for the gram? Instagram? No one? Really? That's sad. All right, whoever does live for the gram, I always love a good shot because I live for the gram. So anyone that gets a great shot of me up here today, I'm going to have you email me all of your pictures, and the best one gets a signed copy of my new book. So somebody better get a good pic, and it better not be my friends down here. So if you want to stay in touch with me, you want to hear from me after I leave, take out your phone right now. I want you to text 345-345, that number, YOU, and you'll get connected immediately to my website, which will give you a free download of a book, a mini book, with essentially some clip notes on my book, which will help you create confidence, so that you have a takeaway today. So back in the day, 30 years ago, when I was a student here, I was not confident. In fact, I was a work-study student who was the daughter of a single mother who oftentimes used food stamps to get by. I was one of 4 kids, and I was on a full academic scholarship, and when I went to school every day, I felt so much less than the people that I was surrounded with every day. And that was really hard. It was hard some days getting up and coming to school. It was hard looking in the mirror and wanting to be someone that I wasn't. It was hard not being me. So what I learned to do was to wear a mask every day. No one could see that mask. I'm sure plenty of the people that went to school with me didn't know I had a mask on. And I'm certain right now, there are people sitting in this room that wear a mask. You don't need to be able to see it, but when you're wearing it, you know you're wearing it. And it's a really crappy feeling. And that feeling doesn't have to come from being poor, being a work-study student, being unattractive, not being smart, having smarter siblings. It can come from a plethora of different things. But what is important is it's unique to you, and you're the one dealing with it. Maybe it's that your friends are drinking and you don't want to drink. Maybe it's your friends are doing drugs and you want to keep your friends, but you don't know how to manage it. Maybe people are pressuring you to have sex and you don't know how to handle that, so you wear a mask and make jokes about it. But I can tell you this, whatever it is, I've been there. I sat in that seat. I wore that mask. And over the last 30 years, what I've learned how to do was to create confidence in my life so that I no longer wear a mask. I speak all over the country now, and I tell people real things about me. Yes, my feet sting. Are you shocked to hear that? 30 years ago, do you think I told anyone that my feet stunk when I was sitting in that seat? Oh, heck no. I wanted people to think I was perfect. I wanted to be the most beautiful version of myself every day and get the best grades possible and be lucky enough to be the MVP on Coach B's team. And I wanted to shine that light just where it looked good. But that's not real. And that's not life. And you guys even have it tougher than I had it when I was a kid because you have social media. And we know that whole thing is fake media. So often I speak to women's groups and the questions they have for me is, well, how do you go on a date with someone after you've put so many filters on your picture that they're not going to recognize you when you walk in? This is the world that we live in. And some of you are laughing out there because you probably know that person, right? Everybody wants to appear in a way that is not real. What I'm here to talk to you about today is the more real that you get, the more real you are with yourself. And when you leave your house every day, the more you will step into your power. There is zero chance 30 years ago, I could have walked out here and spoken to you all today. For a decade into corporate America, I could never speak unless I had a screen to point to and memorize notes. Today, I didn't know what I would talk about when I came out here because I wanted to be the real me, and I want to look at you, and I want to see what you struggle with, and I want to hear from you, and we're going to do some Q&A, and there is no question off the table. Because if nothing else, I want you to leave here today with some tools to create confidence in yourself and to start being that true, authentic version of you. And some of you, it's interesting while I'm looking at you, some of you look away when I look at your eyes, and I know that feeling. No one wants to be singled out. Oh my God, I hope this lady's not going to call on me, right? Who's a little nervous about that? I'm not going to call on anyone, don't worry. We'll let everyone take a deep breath. Don't worry, I will not call on any of you. However, I do want you to listen and take what resonates with you. Who in here has a theme song? Does anyone have a theme song? I did. It doesn't look, I'm going to ask all of you to get a theme song. My favorite theme song right now for creating confidence is Kendrick Lamar, I Love Myself. Who knows that song? Okay. This is an awesome song for you guys to rock out to, for you. And I know when I was a kid, I thought the idea of I love myself, that's ridiculous. Who says that? And that's obnoxious. That's what I used to think. Well, really, the most important job any one of us has is to love ourselves every day. Because when we truly, truly love ourselves, we can show up as ourselves. So figure out your theme song, but start attaching that theme song to an image that you have in your mind of how you will be your most confident. It doesn't have to be how you are today, but I want you to start creating that image, because once you can see in your mind what that could look like, once you start attaching a song to it, you can start feeling it. And you will start manifesting that and creating that future for yourself. But it all starts with baby steps. So, as Patty shared with you, I grew up really poor. I didn't feel good about myself. I sat in your seat right now, and if some crazy lady was up talking like this, I would have looked down at the ground, hoping she didn't see me. I didn't want to be seen. And I know some of you can connect with that and resonate with that. I know that you understand what I'm saying. You are not alone. Everybody struggles with confidence at one time or another. Confidence is not a static thing that remains high all of the time. There are peaks and there are valleys. You can be very confident in your relationship with your parents and your family and your friends, but when you're sitting in class, you don't feel so confident. You can be confident in high school and then it's time to leave and you're not feeling so confident. This is all normal stuff. But what I want to empower you all with are tools that you can use to elevate yourself in those moments you don't feel confident. So again, I grew up poor, I struggled when I was younger, but one thing I knew, one thing I don't want you guys to do, is I decided I don't want to be poor. I will chase money at all costs. Please do not make this mistake that I made. It took me a long time to flip this thing around, and I hope you don't have to go down this road. So hoping you make better choices and you don't chase the paycheck. I did. I chased the paycheck at all costs. It took me all over the country. And yes, I made a lot of money, but I felt empty. Empty inside because I was not confident. Empty inside because I was not the real me. Empty inside because I thought money could fix what I wasn't really addressing inside of me every day. So along my journey, I was promoted. I pitched myself for opportunities that didn't exist because I felt confident at work. Not in life, but when I was at work, I knew I could outwork everyone. And it's really important for each one of you to decide and figure out what is that unique value proposition that you bring to the workplace, that you bring to your community, to school, to your team. Figure out what is unique about you and never let go of that. The more you step into that power, whether it be that you've got such an amazing work ethic, or that you've got such a vibrant personality, or you're so creative and talented and you're amazing at drawing, I call that your superpower. And the more you spend time stepping into your superpower, the more you become confident naturally. There are so many different ways to build confidence, but I'll tell you one that hit me over the head like a ton of bricks was the day that I got fired. After 14 years at the same company, In 2017, I was fired. I was the chief revenue officer of the company, responsible for over 1,000 employees and responsible for hundreds of millions of dollars. And when the CEO that I worked for 14 years became ill, he promoted his daughter. And guess who the first person she called was? This cat right here. So when you are a threat, you will always be a target. And that's the same in high school or in business and life. When you are around people who aren't the most confident versions of themselves, you will be a target for them. And what I've learned is, that's okay. That's about them and not about you. And what's amazing is, that woman thought she fired me that day. That day, I fired a villain from my life. And everybody has villains in your life, just like I did. It's up to you right now to think in your mind, who are the villains in your life? The ones that are holding you back? The ones that put you down? They might not be outrightly mean in your face and try to start fights with you. Maybe that's the frenemy that you're spending time with, that always makes you feel bad about yourself. But firing that villain from your life will be one of the most powerful ways that you can take action and create confidence for you today. And oftentimes people will say, well, I can't fire my villain. My villain's my sister, or my peer, or the student that sits next to me in class. How do I fire that villain? What you can do is you can create boundaries for yourself. You can have, I see some of you laughing, so some of you have villains? Oh yeah, I know some of you have villains. There's gotta be some people out here with villains. And in fact, I know every single one of you do. It's really hard to escape life without a villain in your life. So creating those boundaries, having those conversations to let people know, I don't appreciate when you speak to me that way. That's not gonna work any longer. It's not an argument, it's not a fight, but it's a moment where you stand up for you and you claim confidence for yourself. And in every moment, you are either building confidence or you are chipping away at it. And I'm here today to remind you, you have that choice. It's no one else's responsibility but your own. And you are all old enough to understand that and to do something about it. So if you don't feel your best right now, know that you need to take an assessment and inventory of the people that you are spending your time with. And start firing those villains, and if you can't, start creating those boundaries. My villain used to walk into a meeting, and I'd be the only other woman sitting at the table, and there'd be 15 men at the table. And she would walk over and say hello and hug everyone and walk right by me. That's called passive-aggressive villain. What I learned was every day I left a meeting with her, I felt bad about myself. I would shrink back. So I decided, I went home, and like any time when I have a difficult situation, I practice. I thought, how can I turn this situation around? I can raise my hand and say, hi, you missed me, I'm over here. So I did that. The next meeting I went into with her, I was nervous. So what I did was I practiced. I put on my best color outfit, because when you wear a power color that really makes you feel vibrant, it definitely helps your confidence. I listen to my theme song on the way over, right? Because it really fires me up, and it connects me back to that vision that I have in my mind of my most confident self. I read 3 times in my journal where I thought I was gonna fail, and I actually succeeded. And I used those instances in my life as leverage and stepping stones to walk into that meeting, and when she walked by me, raise my hand and say, hi, you missed me, I'm sitting right here, it's Heather. Yeah, she didn't think it was so funny. This is a woman that eventually fired me, but guess what happened in that moment? Her face went bright red, and I sat up really tall. I realized I shifted the dynamic in that room. No longer was my confidence being chipped away. Guess whose was? Hers. I took that power back by making a very subtle change. I decided to stand up for me. And it never has to be a fight. It has to be a willingness to put you first. And putting yourself first is a critical way to build confidence. So often I hear from people, well, you can do that, you're selfish, or you're already confident, or you have a skill set I don't have. That is not true. By putting your needs and your wants first, you are building your confidence. So your friends say to you, oh, we're all going out Friday night and there's a party and you have to be there. And you have a commitment with your family that you've already committed to. Those are the moments you say, the right thing for me is, I already committed to do this. I'm going to put myself first and my commitments first. And I'm going to say, I'd love to be there. I appreciate you for you understanding. I have a prior commitment I've got to make. And it doesn't have to be hard. You have to check in with yourself. Because you are always going to have the right answer for you. Not your friends, not your parents, but you. If you start listening to your inner voice and start getting real with what it's saying to you and start acting on it, the more you will hear your intuition, the more you will be able to find those right answers for you and where you are meant to go, not where somebody else wants you to be. And the more real you get, the stronger and more confident you become. There are so many different ways to build confidence, but one story I'd like to share with everybody that I think you guys will like, knowing this is a sports school, is after my book launch, I got a DM on LinkedIn from an NBA player. And it said, Heather, I read your book and I love it. One of the biggest differentiators in the NBA is confidence. And I was shocked to hear that because I figured it was skill. He let me know it's not skill. He said everyone is in similar skill levels for the most part, but the difference between being good or great is one player is confident and one player is not. He said, would you be willing to meet with me before season to help me work on that? Oh my gosh, that was my fraud moment where I went right back to where I used to feel very insecure. Remember, confidence isn't static, it can go up and down. And in that moment, my confidence nosedived. And I had to remind myself, okay, when I get really insecure and don't feel confident, what are the things that I do? One of the things that I do, I pull a lever. I have a few different friends and people on my team, and you guys all need these people. People that you can call at any minute to remind you, hey, you were petrified about being fired, Heather, and you went for it. You were petrified about launching this book, and you did it anyway. You've been petrified of so many things in your life, and you didn't die. You made it through. And after that call, I thought, okay, I'm going to respond back and possibly meet with this NBA player. See, I'm saying possibly because I was still petrified. I took the meeting, I went to New York, I met with him, and I nearly didn't leave my hotel room. Again, I leaned on these other moments in my life where I was petrified, and I used those as a catalyst to force me downstairs into that lobby, knowing maybe I couldn't help him, maybe I didn't have all the answers, but I was gonna show up, because showing up is everything, and showing up is building confidence. I walked into that lobby and I saw a 6'10" young boy, he was 19 years old, sitting in the lobby holding my book. He was grasping onto it the same way my son grasped onto his binky as a little boy. And I thought right then, maybe I can help this guy. And I got closer and I became less nervous. But the whole thing was, I took the elevator down there that day, guys, when I was petrified and felt like a fraud. And so many times in my life I felt that way. But every time I pushed through that fear and realized fear is a liar. It's not real. It's only in your mind. I walked closer to the NBA player and his smile got bigger and he was shaking. And I realized he was nervous to meet me. Here's a guy that makes $15 million a year and he's nervous to meet me and he's clutching my book like a binky. Life is very strange. So I sat with him and he poured his heart out for about an hour, telling me how hard his childhood was, how he doesn't have mentors, which we so need mentors, and you're so blessed in this school to have so many strong, amazing teachers and staff here to elevate you. He didn't have that. He grew up very poor and didn't have anyone. His father wasn't in his life, his mother had been in and out of jail. So he had been taken for a ride by many people, he had lost a lot of money, and his life did not look the way that it does on TV. Imagine that. In this fake world and fake society that we live in, we put people up on pedestals, when the reality is, we are all the same. And in that moment, I realized he was like my son. He needed a mentor. And I got to be that person for that moment and that day. And the one thing I felt really good about at the end of our conversation was, He said, Heather, you just don't get it. When I'm on the free throw line, in practice, I nail every one. In games, the stats don't show that. I'm killing myself out there, and I'm so not confident. And I said, well, why? He said, well, you don't know what it's like to have millions of people watching you. You're not an NBA player. And I said, you know what, you're right. I'm not an NBA player, but I am a professional speaker. And I used to get so nervous when I would walk out on a stage and think everyone was watching me. But you know what I realized? No one's watching. The whole goal is to try to keep people's attention. I said, so let me tell you something, buddy. If you think you're standing out there and everybody's watching you, I got news for you. I'm in the audience, and I'm back on the gram. I'm scrolling. And so is everybody else. And he picked his head up and said, really? In our minds, we can create this fear that's so not real. And one of the ways to break through and build confidence is to rely on people that are stretched beyond where you have been. And it doesn't have to be in that same discipline or same situation. But it is so helpful to have those people that you can have on speed dial, that you can sit with to give you perspective, that are there because they believe in you and they've been through it and they know that you can get through it too. Another great example that I have for building confidence is I was going on an international news show. And while I might know a lot about business in the US, I know nothing about business internationally. So as I was pulling in the cab, I was in New York, I got a phone call from a friend. She said, Heather, I just watched footage of this lady. She's gonna try to rail you and make you look like an idiot. And I thought, oh gosh, I have 2 minutes till I go on. What can I do in 2 minutes to build confidence? And here is a great tip for you. If you have 2 minutes before you're going into any situation and you start panicking, which happens to everyone, I thought, who can I channel walking into this environment? Who is one person that I could channel and try to allow to come through me to help me through this difficult time? Who is that one person that when asked a question that he or she does not want to answer, answers the question he or she wants to answer? And I decided for me in that moment, whether you like him or not, that person for me was Donald Trump. So he's asked many questions and he just doesn't answer them, and he answers whatever he would like to. And if he can get away with it as President of the United States, I felt me going in as Heather Monahan could do the same. So I did. So I walked onto the program. The woman started with a lot of niceties, started with US-based questions about gender pay gap and things I knew a lot about. I was feeling super confident until she said, Heather, that's great that you got all this knowledge on the gender pay gap in the US. But the real question is, what is that gender pay gap and how does it compare internationally? Remember, I don't know. So I said, interesting, but shouldn't we really strike the follow-up question here to the gender pay gap in the US and address what are we going to do about it? And I've got that answer for you. And I Donald Trumped her. So anytime you are walking into a situation and you are not feeling ready or prepared, think about that one person that you can channel going in. That one person that you can bring that vibe up. And let me tell you, in my personal life, I use that too. If I'm fighting with my fiance, I have a very strong personality, and I know if I walk in my brash self, it's not gonna go well. So I channel my girlfriend Samantha, who is the sweetest, kindest, softest person. And I think, take a deep breath and think about Samantha and let your guard down. So we can do this whether you're nervous going in for a test, if you're asking for a retest from a teacher, whatever it is that you might find yourself nervous about, think about that person that nails that job and think about how they'd approach it. You also want to practice. You also want to wear your best color. You want to stand tall because taking a power pose wherever you are speaks volumes about who you are. In 30 seconds, someone that initially meets you is forming an opinion about you based upon how you look and how you hold yourself, whether you like it or not. So start to pay attention to that. How are you sitting? Are you crumpled over or do you sit tall? These things affect your confidence and they affect how others will treat you. Your entire life you are going to learn that we are teaching people how to treat us. People just don't treat us some random way. You might have a friend that's treated so well by everyone and you think, well, those people don't talk the same way to me. They treat me differently. What is it that you're doing differently? How do you hold yourself in front of them? How do you speak? Do you speak up for yourself? Do you raise your hand and say, I've got a challenge with that? Or do you shrink back into a corner? These are the questions you need to start asking yourself. But it starts with paying attention to you. How many of you journal here? Does anyone journal? Holy cow, we gotta work on this. Okay, good, I'm glad to see one person does. So journaling is one of the best ways to get to know yourself. It's another amazing tool that you can have to watch your progress in life. I go back when I launched my book and I was petrified, and so many people told me not to do it, because why would someone put out their lowest moments in life and how they overcame them? That's embarrassing, right? Well, you throw it in the book, you just go for it, and you pray to God it works. Well, that took a lot, and I was petrified, and people tried to put their limiting beliefs on me, and instead of accepting them and saying, okay, I guess I shouldn't launch this book, I decided to take their limiting beliefs, thank them, and hand it right back to them. And I know that you have people in your life that think they're helping you, but they're handing you their limiting beliefs. That's about them. You have every choice, opportunity, and option to thank them for their limiting beliefs and hand them back to them. One of the ways that I learned to do that was through reading and rereading my journals. I watched that when I would make those decisions and say, you know what, thank you for your feedback, but I don't agree with you. That's not what's right for me. It doesn't feel right. I'm going to move forward with my plan. When I would do that, countless times in my life, I felt amazing. When I look back in the journals when I didn't do that, when I would say, this doesn't feel right to me, but I guess I should do it, they're smarter than me, more successful than me, whatever it is, I would take their limiting beliefs on, and things wouldn't turn out right for me. But my journals taught me that. So please take 5 minutes a day to write in a journal. And if you really want to shift your perspective and build confidence in a big way, write down 3 things you're grateful for every day. That is the biggest confidence shift. My son was being bullied at school. I have an 11-year-old son. And the first thing I said to him we're going to start doing is every night when you get home, we're going to say 3 things we're grateful for. 3 things. And then I want to hear from you, I am enough. So I made him own that. Within 7 days, we weren't dealing with much else at that point. I wasn't getting into how we were going to talk to the bullies. I wanted to shift the way he was thinking first and have him start thinking that no matter how someone else treated him, it didn't affect who he was. Within 7 days, my son said, things are getting better at school. He started carrying himself differently. He started showing up with his shoulders back and a smile on and a power pose. And suddenly, bullies started moving away from him. Then, as he started feeling better, we started talking about how do you respond when someone says something not nice to you? What can we picture for you? Let's picture Teflon all over you. And let's get that visual in our mind. No matter what these kids say to you, it can't penetrate the Teflon. Your mind is such a powerful tool that you can utilize to your benefit or that you can allow to hinder you. I hear so often that media is awful and the messaging to all of us says we have to look a certain way and be a certain way. Well, there's one media platform you are in charge of. You curate the messaging on it. You own it. It's your mind. And that is the most powerful platform and tool that you have in confidence building and in life. And you can run the tape, I love myself, like I do. Or you can run another tape like I used to, which was, geez, you're stupid. Why did you do that? Screwed up again. God, are you ever going to get this right? So it's so important to change that tape. Change the most important news feed you're getting, the one you give yourself. It is the easiest to change. And you start by writing down, what are the things you want to be? I want to be enough. I want to love myself. I want to be smart. I want to be creative. And after you write that down, say that to yourself. Say it in the mirror. And the next day, let's change that to, I am. And let's start owning those things. Because as you start changing that inner dialogue, everything else on the outside is going to change around you. The way people treat you, the opportunities that show up for you. And social media, I know it's such a hard thing. I know it feels terrible when you look and it seems that everybody has everything else that you want. Remember, think about your friends that you know put on the 10 filters and don't even look like the same person. And realize the majority of people are doing the same thing. I don't put up there when my son's getting bullied on social media. That's stuff we deal with at home. And nobody else is either. People are putting up there their high moments, their exciting moments. No one's showcasing the low ones. So if people are bringing you down because of their social media feeds, unfollow them. It's not real anyways. And wherever you put your focus in your life is where your energy will go. Our energy is so powerful. Mine is so powerful. When I was consumed with the lady that fired me and I was stalking her online for a while because I was so curious what was happening after I left, one day I realized I'm giving this lady all of my power. The more I focus on her, the more my energy is going to go to her, the better she's going to do. And I said, oh, heck no, no more. I am not giving this lady my energy and my power. I will put that right back on me. And I'm going to focus on me and what my goals are and what that next step is I'm taking. And I'm going to ask for help because asking for help is something strong and confident people do. And I did not know that. When I wasn't feeling so confident, I didn't ask for help. But that has been a game changer since I got fired. I put it out on social media a couple days after I got fired. I said, I have been fired from my position and I'm feeling really low and I need your help. And some people called me and said, oh my God, you've lost your mind, you're crazy. Why would you tell people this? I knew if no one knew I had been fired, no one could help me. So I let the world know, and guess what happened? The world showed up. So many people came to my aid that had never known I had been fired. Had I not made that post and put it out to the world how I felt, had I not taken that mask off, that no, I was not perfect and I was suffering, I would have never ended up on the Elvis Duran show. And when I got on the Elvis Duran show, that was the moment I decided I was writing a book, because he asked me, well, Heather, obviously you've got a book coming, right? And I said, well, obviously, I didn't. But what he did in that moment was he held me accountable to him and his 10 million listeners that I better write a book. And I was committed to doing so when I left there. But that opportunity would have never arisen had I not asked for help. So who are you not asking for help from today? Who is someone that you could reach out to that could help you? Because strong people ask for help. Another way to build confidence is to help others. So often we forget our own value. Holding the door for someone and watching how they respond. The smallest things can bring so much joy to other people. Take that moment to think, what can you do for somebody? The first time I started doing charity work, I was overwhelmed feeling good about myself. There are countless ways that you can build confidence in any moment, and they are not hard. Some may seem more challenging, but just like climbing up a ladder, take that first step. If something was so important to you, what would you do? You would go all in. Well, understand this. Having confidence or not can be the biggest game changer for your future today, for tomorrow, and for your life. So make that commitment to put yourself first and build your confidence and live a life to your potential, because you deserve it, and I really hope that you'll give that a shot. So now DJ is going to come back up and we're going to do some Q&A.
Thank you, Heather. So Heather has very generously offered to stay a little longer, and we're going to do a Q&A over Instagram later on, but we'll take a few questions now, and then if you have questions that you prefer to submit over Instagram, just DM the @Worcester Academy Instagram, and we'll get together with Heather a little later in the day and post any of the questions that come in. So I'll just walk around with the mic. If anybody has a question, raise your hand.
Confident people ask questions.
What advice would you give to people who suffer from things like social anxiety? How would you say that they could help themselves?
Okay, let's be clear on one thing. I am not a doctor, although I slept at a Holiday Inn last night. Thank you for laughing at my joke. So I'm not a doctor, but what I would say, in any type of anxiety situation, everyone's going to have different things that calm themselves down, right? So for me, I mean, I'll put it right out there. When I was nervous when I was younger, I went to a hypnotist. Holy cow, hypnotism works. You have to believe it. But for me, I was going through a really tough time when I got divorced. I was feeling very bad about myself, and my work was taking off, and I had to be on bigger stages and do more things. And I thought, I'm not fixing this problem. What's important to know is this. You're not the first person to struggle with that problem, whatever it is, social anxiety or anything. You're not alone on an island. Someone's had the problem before, someone's going through it now, and there is a solution. And that's what's key to remember here. We just need to find what is that solution for you. A lot of people utilize tapping, which is a really popular way to calm people's senses and nervous systems now. Scents, lavender oil for me is huge to calm me down in any situation. Thinking and connecting with, and it goes back to manifesting, but using your mind with creating a picture, attaching it to music, attaching a scent to that. All of those three things coupled together are really powerful. And the people that you surround yourself with, if they're always cheering you on and stretching you, those things help you move forward and break through. But you need to try the different, roads, try those different paths and see what connects for you and makes it work for you. But you're not alone. Who else has something for me? Oh, someone's over there. Kelly, it felt like a holiday in last night.
I have one question, thank you. What I was wondering is, how is channeling someone else being true to yourself?
Well, I'm not confident in every moment, right? So I don't want to be Donald Trump 24 hours a day, but I did want to get through and survive that one isolated situation. And like I said, there are times that I'm really confident and I'm all in your face, Heather Monahan all the time, but there's times I'm not so confident. So when my confidence dips, I find ways, solutions, and tools that I can leverage to get me out of those situations. And every time I use that tip or trick, what it allows me to do is feel more confident that I can take that next challenge on, and I can be more myself the next time I feel scared. But it's just another tool or tip or trick to get you out of an isolated situation, not to become another person, because that definitely does not build your confidence, for sure. Good question. Who else has one? Did I fly all the way from Miami, Florida for this? Talk to me.
Who was the NBA player?
No, I'm not sharing that, David. That would not be good for his confidence.
Anybody else? Okay, if you want to submit a question over Instagram, please send them within the next half hour or so. Oh, we got one more? Sorry.
What's your opinion on overconfidence?
I don't believe there's such a thing. That's someone who's very insecure. So when you're really trying to act over the top or bullying people or screaming to get attention, I've been there. I used to do that. That was a strategy that I used when I was very insecure and didn't know any better. So when you see that person, you're like, it's in your face, it's over the top. Why are they always trying to be the loudest and the most aggressive? That's because they're not feeling so good inside about who they are. So when you recognize that in another person, you can try to have some empathy for them, but realize that's not real. You can look at someone and look in their eyes and listen to your intuition and know if that's real or not. But you'll definitely know, because fake over-the-top confidence doesn't exist.
Did I miss anybody else?
What do you believe is the difference between confidence and ego?
Oh my God, I feel like I'm at Clark University right now for a psychology class. Confidence and ego, that's an interesting question that I've never been asked. I mean, obviously ego is so much larger and bigger than what we're talking about here. Confidence is something more that you have control over. Ego is sort of what is, I guess would be the best way that I could say it in the most simplistic terms. Thank God I did take a lot of psychology classes. But confidence is something that you can actually take steps to change and affect. It's something that is more measurable. The ego just is more what is. That's more of, who you are and that's within you. Confidence is something that you can actually pull different levers and use tools to change it's definitely, ego to me is more of that being of self. I don't know if that's a great answer, but I'm sure is there a psychology professor that can do a better job on that one? Yeah, I did, and I think that's why I got fired, so that's a great question. When I was, yes, no, but it all worked out, don't worry. So I did, remember how I was saying, I was raising at the end, I started saying, you know what, this isn't working for me, and I'm gonna start raising. I was sick of feeling like I had to be small for someone else, and instead I decided I wanted to start stepping into my power and owning who I was, and that changed everything, because remember, people treat us the way we teach them to. And I was teaching her, it didn't work anymore to bully me. I wasn't gonna stand up for that any longer, and when that dynamic changed, that changed everything, and she fired me. Today, now knowing everything I know, I'm so grateful I got fired. When it happened, I was petrified. I went under a weighted blanket. I was hysterical for a couple of days. I didn't know what to do. But now that I have the space and time changes everything, I don't ever want to be treated like that. Let me rephrase that. I will never be treated like that by another person, and nor should anybody else. Nothing is worth that ever in your life. Thank you.
We got time for one more question.
Does ego to you have like a positive or like a negative vibe? Because it seems like ego and like self-love are kind of connected words, and it seems that ego has a really negative vibe and self-love has a really positive vibe. So I'm just wondering.
I mean, if we're talking about my ego, then no. I've got a really good feeling about myself. The perspectives and charges you put on things are up to you, right? So if you're in classes and people are saying, oh, ego's negative, that's their opinion. You can have your own. But if I'm speaking about myself, my ego, my confidence, I think that's an awesome word, right? It's just like stinky feet. It's awesome. I love that. I think it's fantastic. It's who I am. So, owning who you are and not putting a negative charge with that is really, really important. It's about acceptance, and it's about really stepping into who you are. So I don't get so caught up on what perspectives and charges others put on things. I really try to put more of, see things through my perspective of my life and try to be accepting of who I am and loving of who I am. I think that's really important.
So that's all the time we have for the questions here. But if you have any more questions, please send them to the Worcester Academy Instagram, and we will set up a story later on in the day. Please check that out. And thank you, Heather.
Thank you.